What do you make of the comments from the US in light of this? So from Joe Biden, the US has no interest in intervening in this, and from Donald Trump saying this is not our war.
Well, they can say that, but there's not many places like Syria that have as many proxies. It's an incredible mixture of proxy groups. It has been since that 2011. That's when the uprising began against Bashar al-Assad during the Arab Spring. He then crushed it with brutality. They were peaceful protests in those days, in 2011. Anyway, all of this, there's about 5 or 6 major players, either directly or indirectly involved in Syria. They include, obviously, Russia, Iran, the United States, Israel, Turkey, and then you have all of those other groups, Islamic State, al-Qaeda. And so through all of that, Bashar al-Assad has used a brutal sort of military system to try to keep it enforced. The United States, though, doesn't really know what approach to take to this, because Jake Sullivan, their national security advisor, said yesterday, you know, we will not cry tears for the end of Bashar al-Assad, but we really don't know what's coming next. And, you know, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, there are some serious question marks over that as a group.
We've also had comments from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu exercising caution here, but not just comments though, action as well. So they've seized a buffer zone in the Golan Heights. What are the threats and opportunities for Syria and other countries with an interest here?
Well, the interesting thing, Israel for a brief time had its interests aligned with this group, HTS, because they both wanted to see the end of the Assad regime. The Assad regime has been very, very close to Iran. It's been part of that Shia crescent of influence, going from Iran, the leader of the Shia world, through to Syria, of course, and then into Lebanon and Hezbollah. And so it's allowed Iran to bring in weapons through Syria into Lebanon to be used against Israel. And so Israel now will be pleased that Assad is gone, but they'll be concerned about what comes after that. And on the Golan Heights, which is traditionally Syrian territory, occupied now by the Israelis. They are reinforcing the Golan Heights with soldiers and military just in case this spills across their border. Although HTS have said quite clearly that we don't want to have a war with Israel, but we don't know what will happen.
So apart from Bashar al-Assad, who are the big losers in all of this?
Well, the big losers are Russia, Iran and Hezbollah. Russia, because it has 2 major military bases in Syria. It has a major naval base on the Mediterranean and it has an air base. And it's used those 2 facilities to, en route to Africa, when they've been sending troops or people to Africa, and Iran, because they've lost one of the key blocks of what they call their arc of resistance, and that's now gone. So it's gone from a Shia or an Alawite government, Bashar al-Assad, which is an offshoot of Shia Islam, to Sunni. And so this is a big blow for the Iranians. And Hezbollah, of course, already wounded and on the back foot after their war with Israel, they helped prop up Bashar al-Assad. And so now they're watching, you know, a regime they kept in place has toppled.
And John, you said in your analysis piece, which we have on ABC Online, that rarely has any rebel group in a single hit changed the Middle East as comprehensively as this group, HDS, has done. What changes now? What comes next?
Well, I think it's good for the media to look at Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. I can understand people in Syria, after 54 years of dictatorship, being relieved at the end of this brutal regime. But the Australian government, for example, has done its own analysis of HTS when they upgraded them to a terrorist status. And they said that, a good description, they said HTS is a Sunni Islamist, religiously motivated, violent extremist group based in northwestern Syria. HTS opposes the government of Bashar al-Assad and aims to replace the government with an Islamic caliphate. They then go on to say that on the basis of this information, the Australian government assesses that HTS is directly or indirectly engaged in preparing, planning, assisting in, or fostering the doing of terrorist acts. So for all of the scenes of celebration and welcoming, there are so many groups within the Sunni world who are opposed to this group internally. The Shia, of course, are opposed to them, and they're going to find Iranian influences. There's Iranian militia in Syria, and they're going to find, opposition within the place. So I think the idea that suddenly the dictators have gone and here comes stability, I think is far from the reality.